Recruiting contractors on an investor-grade rehab is going to take a different approach than building that patio in your backyard.
I need one guy who knows how to paint.
Not that different, but for real. There's no Angie's List available for contractors that are willing to take on these type of projects. It's on you as the investor to find the right kind of people for these projects. If you don't, you might just keep running into bad contractors. But consider this question. Do you even know what you're looking for other than the right contractor? Do you know how to identify the ones that will excel on your project? Do you know how to recruit them? Well, let's find out. First, you got to understand the 3 different types of contractors we look for. Specialists in specific jobs like drywall, roofing, paint, siding, windows, fencing, etc. These guys do one job and one job only. These are the go-to guys when I need a full replacement done. 2 are your all-arounders. These guys are your main crew. These guys will create cost efficiencies by doing a lot of jobs on the same project. They'll do your cabinets, they'll tile your floor, they'll paint the walls, they'll do your demo, they'll even sweep your floors. They don't care as long as they're getting paid. Then you got your handymen. These guys are your bottleneck breakers. They are the problem solvers that are the glue between specific contractors and all-arounders. They make sure a project keeps on flowing. They are the guys with a specific set of skills.
Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Good luck. Each of these guys have their pros and cons, but they all play an essential role in your depth chart. Now, the pros and cons of each type. First is the specific job contractor. Well, pros, 1, they're easy to find because they advertise well. 2, they're skilled and efficient at their specific job. Sometimes they even pass those price savings along to their customer. 3, in general, their cost and quality of work are better for that specific job. Cons, 1, they likely have a waiting list. 2, they're only focused on one job on your project. That means that there's a lot of other jobs that you're gonna have to set expectations for, then hold accountability to. You're gonna be on that job site a lot more often, meeting with a lot more people. And the more contractors you have on a project, the more people there are for all those guys to point fingers at when something goes wrong. And 3, if they're a bigger company, you're gonna get priced out. Somebody's gotta pay for all that overhead and all that marketing. 2 are the all-arounders. The pros, well, 1 is if you find these guys and you treat them and pay them right, they'll likely want to work on your projects back to back to back to back. 2 is they can create price efficiencies by doing multiple jobs on a single project or even multiple projects of yours. 3, they typically act more like employees, but without the monthly payroll tap or the taxes or the insurance or the liability or the headaches. Cons, it's really hard to find the good ones. It takes a long time before you find one that you really align with. That means that you'll go through a lot of bad ones first. 2, their checkpoints are typically spread out a little bit further because they're doing multiple jobs. That means that things can go really wrong before you actually go and check the work. And then you'll have to have a little bit of an awkward conversation when you show them that they didn't meet the expectations that you guys wrote and detailed out on your scope of work, right? And 3, as you start to get more comfortable with them, you might notice that their prices start to creep up. It's kind of just human nature. Then 3, you got your handymen. The pros, 1 is that these guys are your bottleneck breakers. These guys are the glue that will get you from one job to the next, in between different contractors. These guys are essential for the problem-solving needs of these kind of investor-grade rehabs. 2, you can have them do anything. They know how to do it all. That makes it way easier on you. 3, you're gonna learn from them. They know way more than you. And so watch what they do, listen to what they're saying, and you'll actually become more educated in the trades. Cons, 1, they're the most expensive by far, at least on an hourly basis. 2, it can be really hard to get in their schedules, unless they're an internal team. And 3, it's really hard to find the great ones, especially ones that want to work on our crappy investor-grade rehabs. They like prettier stuff, and they earned it. You need to understand their strengths and weaknesses and when and how to use them on a specific project. And we happen to talk about that from time to time around here. Anyway, from now on, you need to start paying more attention when you're driving around town on your commute to and from work, or when you're pulling up to Home Depot, or even when you're dropping your kids off at school. Like I said before, there's no Angie's List for these guys, and so you have to create your own recruiting funnel. ABS, always be scouting.
A, always be B, C, closing. Always be closing.
ABS, people, always be scouting. Hey, put that down.
Wasn't yelling at you there, buddy.
See, coffee is for closers. So is your profit. So what am I actually saying here? I'm saying that your recruiting pipeline for contractors is the same as any sales pipeline, and you need to start thinking about it like that. So let's start with qualifying these prospects. What you need to look for, i.e. the pre-qualification. Well, one, I always look for a crew of 4 guys or less, with the owner leading the crew from the front. Now you're gonna find these guys out on job sites or maybe at a restaurant for lunch, because they're gonna be busy working. And also, I really like these guys because they're just the right size, a little bit bigger, and you start paying for the inefficiency of their management. 2 is these guys are piling out of a truck or a van that's made for work. It's not a rust bucket, but it's not a big old expensive thing either. You see, if it is a rust bucket, these guys are likely on a shoestring, and eventually that shoestring is gonna break, and somebody's gonna have to pay for it. And 2, if it's a big expensive thing, well, it's expensive, and somebody also has to pay for that. I guarantee that's gonna be you. You see those big old jacked up tires, they ain't free. And 3, that vehicle is marked, but it's not wrapped. You see, when it's marked with their business name and their phone number, that means they're legit. They're there for business. They didn't just decide to play contractor last night. But if it's wrapped, it's got logos all over it, well, that goes in the same classification as big expensive truck. That marketing doesn't pay for itself. It's important for you to understand that this pipeline is just like any sales pipeline. You need to approach them. You need to have your elevator pitch. You need to earn their respect. Got to have the right attitude. And then you have to put them in your funnel, and you got to follow up. Once you think you found somebody that fits that profile, it's time to make the approach, and you got to make the sale. You see, recruiting contractors is just like any sales pipeline. You got to have the right attitude. You got to have the right elevator pitch, and then you need to put them in your funnel and follow up. And remember, you're not special. They don't owe you anything. I don't care what those forums told you, or your mom and dad. So get your mindset right, be who you are, be genuine, and you'll have success. The approach. 1 is you make the first move. Stop what you're doing and go introduce yourself. 2, tell the contractor about yourself. This is your time for your elevator pitch. Tell them about the business that you're growing, how you treat contractors, and that you pay them quickly. And 3, you start leaning in close. You keep a steady eye contact. 3, I mean the real 3. Put them in your funnel and follow up with them until it's time to get them to come out and bid a job. This is your pipeline. And just like any sales pipeline, you have to follow up. You have to put them on a drip campaign to where they remember you. And when it's time, it's time. 4, once you get them to a project to actually bid it, follow the steps in this video right here. So I'm sitting here editing this video. It's like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm looking through it, and I realize that a lot of these tactics are very applicable to the all-arounders, which, I guess I spend most of my time thinking about that because that's most of who we recruit on these types of projects. They're really the key to the business. But we still have to recruit the specific job contractors and the handyman. So the tactics are similar, and you use some of these same ones, but there are other tactics that you can use for those guys. So starting with the specific job contractors, these guys are going to be readily found online or in the phone book or whatever you use these days. But anyhow, they're going to have set prices, and all the guys should be around the same. And so
a lot of times what I would do is call around to, let's just take roofers. I would call all the roofers that I could find, and I would just ask them over the phone, for a typical job, what's your price per square in the case of a roofer? And, let them know that I'm not trying to hold you accountable to this. I know that when you go to a specific job, you have to look at, how much decking needs repaired and all that kind of stuff. Just in general, what are your prices? I just want to make sure that we're in the same ballpark. And if you are, then that person goes into your depth chart, and then you can have them go bid a job. Now, that's not to say not to use these tactics as well. That's where I find some of the best contractors, but you can really fill up your funnel quickly by using what you can find online and such. And a lot of times you'll get okay pricing, but you will get your best pricing and your best contractors using these methods. Okay, and then for the handyman type, same thing. Best ones you're going to find are just like we talked about in this video, but you can also find these guys pretty easily online, on Facebook, or, in whatever phone directory there is. And same thing, you call them, you ask them what their price per hour is, and then, and sometimes these guys will have service charges and such. And then you also explain the types of projects that you have and what you're trying to do, and make sure they're even wanting to do that. I mean, some of those guys really will go out to one of your investor grade projects and just, they won't want anything to do with it, or all of a sudden their pricing will go up pretty tremendously. And so a little bit of different tactics for these guys, but still your best ones are going to come from the tactics we talked about in the video itself. And now back to it. Thanks.
What I've tried to outline for you here is our primary approach to identifying and recruiting subcontractors, but it's not the only way to do it. Here's some other methods of prospect generation that we've used over the years. One is referrals from others. Be careful on this one though. There's usually a reason that people are giving up their contractors. Hint, hint, they don't give you the best ones. Two is Home Depot fishing. Use all the methods that you learned in this video today to go find those guys up at Home Depot or Lowe's. If they're there buying material, it's because they're working. Those are the guys you want. Three is supply house gifting. This is a strategy I've used when I moved into new markets and I don't know anybody. I go up to the supply houses in town and bring a little gift, maybe a 6-pack of beer, maybe a $100 bill, and ask the person working at the front, who comes in here the most to buy material? Could I have their name and number? And with the proper gifting, you might just get what you want. See, I asked for the ones that are buying the most stuff because those are the best ones usually. And those are the ones that I want. And I'm gonna use the skills that I'm teaching today to get those guys in my funnel. It's time to start looking at recruiting contractors like your sales pipeline. Don't be fooled by conventional wisdom. This is the way you do it. You get your mindset right, and you go out there and make it happen. Now, this is one of the 4 pillars to repeatable success in rehabs and investments. But there's some other skills you're gonna have to pick up first. So why don't you check this video out, and good luck out there, investors.